Hey folks, how you doing? So today is Friday, the 18th of November, 2022, and in today's video, I want to talk about the book of Matthew, okay? But specifically, chapter 24 and also chapter 25. Now, I want to talk about these two chapters because they are part of the Olivet Discourse. But as much as they are part of the Olivet Discourse, not all the verses here in chapter 24 and in 25 actually belong to the dispensation or the tribulation period. I think that Matthew chapter 24 and 25 are causing a great deal of confusion amongst many Bible scholars. And from what I've seen out there, on YouTube and so on, I don't believe that they are rightly dividing these verses in these two chapters correctly into the correct dispensation. Okay, now to start with, let us read verse 3. Okay, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, so that's Jesus. Jesus sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples or the 12 apostles came unto him privately, saying, "Tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" Okay. Now, when pardon me, when most Bible scholars read this verse 3 here in Matthew chapter 24, okay, they immediately think that because it's part of the Olivet Discourse that all this belongs into the tribulation period. Not so. Let me tell you which verses in Matthew chapter 24 and 25, why they belong into the correct dispensations, okay? Now, let us start with verse 1, okay? Don't worry, this is not going to be a long video. This is just going to be a brief summary telling you where the verses belong to into the correct dispensations, okay? So just follow me here. Please be patient just for 1 minute. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple. Okay, so this verse 1 in chapter 24 clearly belongs in the dispensation of the law, okay, because basically, Jesus has just departed the temple and his disciple wants to show him the buildings of the temple, okay, so we know that the second temple was burned down in 70 AD, okay? And so the temple, when Jesus was around and when the 12 apostles were around, the second temple was still operational. So, here both Jesus and his disciples, or the 12 apostles, are just having a look at the temple buildings, okay? So this verse here belongs into the dispensation of the law, okay? Now, verse 2, just stay with me, folks, because it's very important. This is not going to be tedious at all, trust me. But you got to stay with me at least for the next 3 verses, okay? So just follow me here. And Jesus said unto them, "See you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." Okay, so basically, this verse 2 here is a prophecy. Jesus telling his 12 apostles that the second temple is going to be completely burned down, and that happened during 70 AD. Okay, so this is a prophecy quite clearly for the church age, because the second temple was burned down at the beginnings of the church age. Okay, now from verse 3, just follow me here, folks, from verse 3 all the way down, okay, if we follow through all the way down to verse 28, okay. So chapter 24, verses 3 to 28, all belong for the trib, okay. So from here, okay, this is part of the Olivet Discourse, okay, from verse 3, all the way to verse 28 up to here. That's all part of the tribulation period. But from verses 29 all the way to 31, okay, that's for the millennial kingdom, okay. So these verses here, 29 to 31, that's for the millennial kingdom. Now, from 32 to 34, that's for the church age, okay. It's talking about the parable of the fig tree, so that's for the church age, okay. and from 35 all the way down to 51, that's also for the church age. Okay, so you can always rewind this video. Okay, so from I'll just recap this from 35 all the way to 51. These verses are all for the church age. Okay, so I'm just helping Bible scholars here rightly divide the verses in chapter 24 into the correct dispensation, because clearly, if you follow the context here, not all of it is for the dispensation or the trib. Okay, let me give you an example here in verses 29 to 31. Okay, these are for the millennial kingdom. You might ask, how so? Okay, well, let us read it. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, okay, shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. So this is preparing for the Jesus' second coming, okay, for the millennial, okay, and the stars shall fall from heaven and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken, okay. So this is the preparation for Jesus' second coming or the millennial kingdom, okay. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, that's Jesus. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Okay, so that is Jesus coming down to rule for the millennial kingdom, or Jesus' second coming. Okay, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. Okay, so basically, what this prophecy is saying is that Jesus is going to send his angels. They're going to, you know, they're going to blow the trumpet, if you like, or give a great sound with a trumpet, okay? And that trumpet will be for us, for the saints. We are the saints in heaven. And that trumpet, okay, is for us to gather together because we are coming with Jesus in our white horses to rule for the millennial kingdom, okay? First of all, of course, we're going to have, the battle of Armageddon. And then, of course, it's going to be the judgment of the sheep and the goats, okay? But some Bible scholars seem to think that this is somehow a rapture, okay? It's not a rapture because you got to read the context here, okay? The context is that Jesus is preparing to come out for his second coming, okay? So this is immediately after the tribulation. The sun will be darkened, okay? So we know that Jesus is coming, okay? Then Jesus will appear, okay, and he will get his angels to sound the trumpet to say, hey, you saints gather, which is us, okay, we are coming down, okay, with Jesus to rule for the millennial kingdom. So this great sound of a trumpet is not a rapture. It's just Jesus giving orders to his angels to sound the great, to sound the trumpet, if you like, just to call us saints to come down with Jesus, okay, or for us to gather with him, okay. Now, and the rest of the verses from 32 to 34, they belong in the church age because we know that the parable of the fig tree is for Israel, okay. And from 35 all the way to 51 is all about the church age, okay, because the context of these verses is about the rapture, okay. For example, take the verses here in about Noah, okay. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be, okay. So that is Jesus coming for us to get us up the rapture, okay. So as you can see, in the context here of the verses, just because this is part of the Olivet Discourse, it doesn't mean that the whole thing is for the tribulation period. We got different dispensations here. We got the law, we got the church, and we got the millennial kingdom as well. So, and obviously we got the tribulation period as well. So not everything is for the tribulation period, okay? And you might be surprised to know that in chapter 25, okay, as much as this is all part of the Olivet Discourse, chapter 24 and chapter 25, then there is not one verse here in all of chapter 25 that actually belongs in the dispensation of the trib. I repeat this again, there is actually not one verse in Matthew chapter 25 that actually belongs into the dispensation of the trib, okay? If you follow the context of the verses, okay? Now, in chapter 25 from verse 1, okay? In other words, the church age parables, okay? So you got the parable of the 10 virgins, and you also got the parable of the talents, okay? Now, a parable, if you like, is just a simple story, used by Jesus to illustrate a moral or a spiritual lesson, if you like, okay? So quite clearly here, the parable of the 10 virgins is basically a teaching of Jesus, just to just to let us know that we should be looking out for the rapture to be ready. Okay, we need to study the impending and infront Bible prophecies, like I have been teaching you for quite a while. Okay, so that's what the parable of the 10 virgins is all about. Keeping the oils in your lamps. Okay, and the foolish said unto them was, "Give us your oil, for our lamps are gone out." But the wise saying, "Not so, lest there be not enough for us." Okay, so basically the context is that we got to be watching. We got to make sure that we got oil in our lamps, so to speak. Okay, so it's symbolic, if you like, but we got to be watching out for the rapture of the church. We got to be studying the geopolitical and looking at it through the lens of the Bible, especially through the lens of end-time Bible prophecies. Okay, now the parable of the talents. Okay, so we got here, then as an example, then he that had received the 5 talents went and tried it with the same and made them other 5 talents. Okay, so what the parable of the talents are all about is what the kingdom of heaven is all about. Okay, so the kingdom of heaven, what Jesus is saying in this parable, or its main teaching, if you like, is that the saints that are in heaven are those people that are there because they are there to serve God, and to have charity. Okay, it's for people that have believed in the gospel of salvation. It's for people that have charity in them, and it's for people that are prepared to serve God. That's what the parable or the talents are all about, basically. Okay, because it's talking about what the people of heaven are like. Okay, so for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. So basically, the kingdom of heaven, it's for us servants of God. Okay, like I just said, us serving God. It's for people that have believed in the gospel. Um, it's for people that are already in heaven serving God. As saints, it's for us to have charity and so on. So that's the teaching, and quite clearly the context is all for the church age. These are church age parables. Okay, so from chapter 25, from verse 1 all the way to verse 30. Okay, from verse 1 to verse 30, it's all about the church age. Okay, now from verse 31 all the way to verse 46, it's all about the millennial kingdom. Okay, you can always rewind the video. Okay, so from verse 31, I repeat, to verse 46, it's all about the millennial kingdom. And so, in summary, chapter 25 in Matthew, okay, there is nothing here for the tribulation period. The two parables, the parable of the 10 virgins and the parable of the talents, if you like, are clearly teachings for the church age, okay? And then from verse 31 all the way to the end here in Matthew chapter 25 to verse 46, it's all about the millennial kingdom, okay? Because if you start reading the context here where it begins on verse 31, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, okay, so that's Jesus' second coming, and all the holy angels, that's us, okay, because Jesus told us that we are going to be like angels in heaven, okay? So that's us, okay? Jesus is referring to us here as angels, okay? We are coming down with him, okay? And we are going to be reigning with Jesus during the millennial kingdom. We are going to be priests and kings according to the book of Revelation, okay? And before him shall be gathered all nations, okay? So this is what Joel talks about, the judgment of the sheep and the goats, and also what Matthew talks about here as well in verse 32. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. Okay, so this is pretty much equal to Joel, to the book of Joel. The judgment of the sheep and the goats. Okay, so quite clearly the context here, if you read it, I just want to keep this brief. From verse 31 all the way to verse 46, it's all for the millennial kingdom. And like I said before, there's nothing here in Matthew chapter 25 for the trib. It's all for the church age and for the millennial kingdom. That's what the context is all about. Okay, so I hope that I have helped many Bible scholars with this. You can always rewind this video many times and watch it. It's already 17 minutes long, so I don't want to keep this video too long, but I just wanted to do a quick introduction video, if you like, regarding Matthew chapters 24 to 25, okay? So just bear in mind that as much as it's about the Olivet Discourse, not all of it is for the trib. Sure enough, in chapter 24, a bulk or a lot of it is for the trib, but not all of it, okay? So, even the first verse here belongs in the age of the law. The second one is a prophecy for the church age. In other words, the destruction of the third temple. And then from verse 3, okay, all the way to 28 in here, that's all for the tribulation period, okay? And then from 29 to 31, like I said, is for the millennial. Back to the church age here, 32 to 34, that's for the church age. Then from 35 all the way to, verse 51 is also for the church age. Okay, so we got quite a few dispensations here in Matthew chapter 24. All right, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.